The LX retains body-on-frame construction, but it employs the new Toyota New Global Architecture F-Series platform that Lexus calls GAF. The familiar 112.2-inch wheelbase remains, but the front and rear tracks are an inch wider. There are now 6 lug nuts instead of 5, and electrically assisted power steering replaces the former hydraulic setup. There's a familiar-looking pair of control arms up front and a live axle in back. Only the F-Sport gets a rear anti-roll bar, however, and the rear dampers lean forward instead of inward. This allows the body to crouch lower over the frame, letting Lexus ditch the previous removable rear jump seats in favor of an electrically deployed third row that folds into the floor. This new architecture saves weight too. A loaded ultra-luxury we tested weighed in at 5,901 pounds, which is 275 pounds less than the last LX570 we measured. Behind the wheel, the driving position is notably less bolt-upright and truck-like, and the comfortable new seats lower themselves significantly more than the outgoing Land Cruiser. The resulting crossover cockpit feel is enhanced by a shifter and console that are closer in reach. A dual-screen infotainment system reserves audio, navigation, and wireless, smartphone mirroring functions for the 12.3-inch upper screen, with secondary HVAC, situational, and off-road controls reserved for the lower 7.0-inch display. The most often used climate adjustments are made via physical controls. The result is one of the cleaner Lexus interfaces in recent memory. If only the start button wasn't so high up on the main infotainment bezel, where it's easy to mistake for the smaller, higher, and slightly out-of-reach volume knob, and the stereo's equalizer controls weren't so deeply buried in the menus. Underway, the first thing you'll notice is the steering feels far less truck-like. The new steering system isn't nearly as heavy immediately off-center, and that improves parking maneuverability and highway cruising alike. Effort build-up in corners feels more honest than in the BMW M240i xDrive we drove recently, and the old platform's top-heavy initial roll is history. Twirling the drive mode dial makes noticeable changes to the steering effort, the damping profile of the adaptive dampers, and the shift schedule of the 10-speed transmission. With the steering, though, it's thankfully more about tightening the initial feel around center than merely cranking up the assist. We're also fans of the twin-turbo 3.4-liter V6 and its 409 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque, which amounts to 26 more ponies and 76 more pound-feet than the 5.7-liter V8 it replaces. This engine pulls hard but remains smooth, with none of the old powertrain's occasional initial lurching, thanks to a combination of peak torque that arrives 1600 RPM sooner and more progressive throttle tip-in. The 60 miles per hour run in our loaded ultra-luxury took us just 6.1 seconds, which is exactly 1 second quicker than the last LX570 we tested. F Sport and luxury models roll on 265 divided by 50 are -22 Dunlops, and both can add the hydraulic active height control system as an option. A luxury sample truck was so equipped, and it delivered a smooth, quiet, and settled ride over a variety of surfaces. The low-profile sidewalls did chatter a bit on washboard dirt, but no more than you might expect from such rubber. An F-Sport that we also sampled lacked active height control but did have a sport-tuned version of the adaptive dampers, along with a Torsen limited slip rear differential. All LXs have a lockable